Hi, my name is Annie. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this very cute mini heart granny square. This is a beginner-friendly tutorial, which means that I am going to be showing you in detail all the stitches and steps that you need to make these granny squares, even if you're an absolute beginner. To make this granny square, you are going to need yarn, of course. Pick at least 2 different colors of yarn so that you can make the heart in one color and then the background in a different color. And I have also picked a third color for the square to make the border. So I would say 2 to 3 colors is a good amount for this square. And in terms of choosing the yarn, I am using this Hobby Rainbow 8/8 yarn, which is a 100% cotton yarn. And if we look here, it says that it is a number 3 lightweight yarn. Now this is important because it basically tells you how thick your yarn is going to be. This number 3 yarn is a pretty good yarn for beginners. I at least wouldn't go with anything lighter than this one. So you can pick either this or you can even pick a bulkier yarn, because it's going to make it easier for you to see your stitches when you're just starting to crochet. Another thing to mention about yarn choices is I would say pick rather lighter than darker colors, because again, if we have a very dark yarn, it's going to be harder to see your stitches. So when you're first starting to crochet, I at least find that lighter colors are a little bit easier. Then you're also going to need a crochet hook, of course, and your yarn is actually going to tell you what size of a hook is recommended. So for this one, for example, it says here it has separate numbers for knitting needles and crochet hooks. So this one recommends a 4.5 millimeter hook, or US number 7, which is actually what I have here. You can see the hook tells me what size it is. I would say that's a good starting point to start with the recommendation of your yarn. Then you're also going to need a yarn needle, which is usually kind of like a larger needle that we use for weaving in our ends. And then you're going to need a pair of scissors. All right, we are going to start the granny square from the middle. So go ahead and pick whatever yarn you want to use for that heart, and we'll start by making that. Okay, so I'm going to start my square by making a slip knot. So I take that yarn and I put it over my finger like this. I wrap it around my finger and I take this loop off my finger. This is what I have so far. And then I take this yarn end and I pull another loop through that initial loop and pull it tight. And this is my slip knot. And then I'm going to put this on my hook. And I'm putting it this way so that the tail end is kind of towards me here. And I put my hook in from here. And then I pull this tight. You still want to be able to move that loop on your hook, so don't pull it too tight. But you do want it to be snug. All right, and then I'm going to start by chaining 4 stitches. So I'm going to take this yarn that I'm going to be working with. I like to hold my yarn here between these 2 fingers. And then I grab this tail end with this hand too, so that it doesn't escape. And I bring the yarn around, I bring the hook here around the yarn, and I pull it through that loop on my hook. And I just chained 1 stitch. So bring the hook here behind the yarn. This is called a yarn over. and pull it through the loop on my hook. Just chain 2. Yarn over and pull it through. Yarn over and pull it through. And now I have 4 stitches here. I'm going to show you how to count them. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 stitches. I have just chained 4 stitches. And now I'm going to bring this into kind of like a ring or a circle by making a slip stitch into this first stitch here. So for a slip stitch, I insert my hook into that stitch, so just straight through the stitch there. And I grab that yarn, this working yarn, and I bring it through that stitch, and I bring it through the loop on my hook. And now, believe it or not, this is a ring. Okay, it's a little hard to see right now, but it will become more obvious after the first couple of stitches we make here. And now I'm going to chain 2 stitches. 1 and 2. And I'm going to show you here where we are at. So you see a little hole here in the middle of the granny square. That is basically the center of the ring we just made. And we are going to be making these clusters of stitches around that ring. So we have, these are called double crochet stitches. We have 3 double crochets there, 3 double crochets there, 3 double crochets there, and 3 double crochets there. So we work this double crochet stitches around this ring that we created, and between each cluster of 3 stitches we are going to be making 2 chain stitches that are currently behind this next round of stitches. So let's start. I have slip stitched here to close this round, and then I chain 2 stitches. And now these 2 stitches, they are going to count as my first double crochet for one of those clusters of double crochet stitches. So this chain 2 that I chained after the slip stitch, that is my first, going to count as my first double crochet. So I need 2 more double crochets for this first cluster. And now as I start making those stitches, you see this yarn end I have here. I am going to be holding this together with the ring so that it gets woven in inside this first round. And that's just going to help me to weave in my ends at the end. If it feels really difficult to hold it, you can of course weave it in later, but this is how I prefer to do it. So I hold it there. All right. And now I'm going to be making 2 more double crochets for this cluster. So for double crochet, I go yarn over, and then I'm going to insert my hook in the middle of this ring that I made. And now here you have to pull this apart a little bit to see where the middle is. It is not that opening that you see here up top. It's kind of more obvious, but that is not the center. The center is underneath that obvious opening there. It is right here. This is the center, and this is where I need to insert my hook. It's kind of difficult to see with this first one, but after the first stitch it becomes a lot easier. So I have that yarn over on my hook, and I insert into the middle of the circle. Then I grab this yarn, this working yarn, and I pull it through the center with my hook. And now I have 3 loops on my hook. I go yarn over and pull through 2 of them. And yarn over and pull through 2 of them. And that is a double crochet stitch. And now, as you can see, I can see the center of the circle a lot easier. I need another actual double crochet for this cluster. So yarn over, insert in the same spot, so in the middle. Bring the yarn through. I have 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now I have made one of these clusters, and I need 3 more of them. But before I make the next one, I chain 2 stitches, which is going to create the corner of my square. Chained 2 stitches. And then yarn over, insert in the middle, bring the yarn through. I have 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. A double crochet. So here's my first cluster. I chain 2, and then I created a double crochet for this next cluster. Let's make another one. Yarn over, insert in the middle, bring the yarn through, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, double crochet, yarn over, insert in the middle, pull the yarn through. I have 3 loops on my hook, and I go yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And now I have 3 double crochets for this cluster. And I need 2 more of these clusters. But before I make the next one, I am going to chain 2. So just yarn over and pull it through the loop on my hook. 2 chain stitches. And then I create another one of these clusters of double crochet. Yarn over, insert in the middle, same spot. Pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert in the middle, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. There is my third cluster. I chain 2. So just yarn over and pull through the loop on your hook for a chain. And then I need 1 more cluster here. So yarn over, insert in the same spot in the middle, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert in the middle, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and 1 more. Yarn over, insert in the middle, bring that yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. I have 3 double crochets in that cluster too. And I'm going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And now I'm ready to close this first round. And to close the round, I am going to slip stitch into this stitch right here. I'm going to show you. So if you look at your stitches here on the outside, it's kind of this first stitch that's on the outside of the square. So I insert my hook in here through both of those loops that you see here on top. I pull the yarn through and I pull it through the loop on my hook. That was a slip stitch. And now I am here. I'm kind of on top of this first cluster that I made. Now, personally, I prefer to start my granny square rounds in the corner. So I'm going to slip stitch my way to this corner. And the way I do it is I find the next stitch here on the outside. just right here, I insert my hook here under both of those loops. I bring the yarn through and I bring it through the loop on my hook. And then I insert my hook in this corner space here. So not into a stitch, but into the space. And same thing, bring the yarn through and bring it through the loop on my hook. So now I am here in this corner space and ready to start my next round. So for this next round, we are actually going to change color in the middle of the round. So we have worked these stitches, these clusters, also called granny stitches. It is a granny square. And now for this next round, we are going to be working these 4 clusters, which is only half of this round. So we work 2 clusters here. Again, there's a chain 2 here separating these 2 clusters. Same thing here, and then we change color and we create the rest of this round in the background color. So I am here in this corner. I slip stitch my way there, and I'm going to start by chaining 2. 1 and 2, and this is going to count as my first double crochet for one of those clusters of 3. And I make 2 more double crochets. So yarn over. Now I insert in this corner space, so right here. Bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert in the corner space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's my first cluster, and I chain 2, 1 and 2, and then I make another one of these clusters in this very same corner space. So yarn over, insert in the same corner space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert in the corner space, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. One more, yarn over, insert in the corner space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. I have created a corner, and now here we see that I have that cluster from the previous round. I'm completely going to skip this part, and I move into the next corner space by making 3 double crochets. So yarn over, and I go straight into this space. Bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. My first double crochet for this corner. Yarn over, insert in the corner space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert in the corner space, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. And I chain 2 for the corner, chain 2, and I create 3 more double crochets in the same corner space. Yarn over, insert in the corner space, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, I need one more for this, but let's see what we have here so far. So I basically have this heart made now. If I turn it this way, I know it doesn't look anything like this one yet, but don't worry. We're gonna get there once we add that next round in a different color around it. And now actually for this last double crochet in this color, we are going to change color in the middle of that stitch. And I am going to bring in my next color, which is this white. And I'm going to change color in the middle of the stitch. And I'll show you how to do that. So I start just like the other double crochets. I go yarn over. I insert in the corner space. I pull that yarn through. I have the 3 loops on my hook. I go yarn over and pull through 2, and I stop here. Here is my old yarn. 2 loops on my hook, and I bring in that new color. Here is the tail of that yarn. I'm gonna hold that tail together with that old yarn behind my work, and I go yarn over and I pull through those 2 loops on my hook. And now at this point, I'm gonna turn my work around. It's easier if you have a table or something to work on. And see how I left here multiple inches of this yarn? That's gonna help me later to weave in this end securely. I'm going to cut this old yarn here, more or less the same length as this new tail that I have here. And now I'm going to tie a knot here. So take these 2 yarn ends, see where this one ends, this one starts, and I'll just tie a knot here. I do want to pull it pretty tight because I don't want this to be, the stitch to be loose. But again, not too tight, okay? I'll do a double knot here to make sure that these don't escape anywhere. Okay. And now if I turn my work around, as you can see, I have very seamlessly changed color here. So now I have this new color on this loop on my hook, and that stitch there is completed with that old color. So that trick is really nice if you want to change your color seamlessly like that. All right, and now I'm just going to keep going with this new color. So I had this corner here completed, and I go yarn over and 3 double crochets into this next corner space. So insert the hook, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert in the corner space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert in the corner space, yarn, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. There is my first granny stitch in this color. I chain 2, 1 and 2, and then 3 more double crochets into this same corner space. Yarn over, insert the hook, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Here we go. There is my first corner in this color, and I need 1 more corner, so I'll just move straight into that next corner space and make a double crochet there. So 3 double crochets, then I chain 2 for the corner, 1 and 2, and 3 more double crochets in the same corner space. All right, and now I have completed this round, and I'm going to close this round exactly the same way I did in the previous round. So I insert my hook here into this first stitch there, kind of on the outside. Bring the yarn through and bring it through the loop on my hook, a slip stitch. Then another slip stitch in the next stitch here on the outside. And one more into this corner space. And now I am again in this corner and ready to start my next round. And I'm going to start it exactly the same way I did my previous round. So I chain 2, which is going to count as my first double crochet. I make 2 more double crochets here. So again, double crochet is yarn over, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's my 3 double crochets, including that chain 2. I chain 2 for the corner, so yarn over and pull through 2 chain stitches, yarn over, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. That's my first double crochet for this second cluster. Yarn over, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. And this is my first corner for this round. So if we look here, what I've made so far is the heart, these 2 corners here under the hearts, and now I've also worked this first corner here right above the heart on the right. And now for this round, I'm going to be working these corners, but in the middle I also work a cluster in the middle of the side. So I'm here, I've just made that corner, and now I'm going to work 3 double crochets into this space between the previous round's clusters. So I go yarn over, I insert in this space, not in a stitch, in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. It's my first double crochet, and I need 2 more. Yarn over, insert in the same space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. All right, so that's the corner, and that's the side, and now I'm going to move to my next corner. So yarn over, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. 3 double crochets there, I chain 2, and then I need 3 more double crochets for the same corner space. Here we go. Here we go. And next I work this corner, and the next thing I need to do is this side here. So again, I need 3 double crochet stitches into that space between the previous rounds clusters. All right, so yarn over, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So 3 double crochet stitches. I've made that side, and I move into the next corner. So 3 double crochets here. Here's my first corner, sorry, my first cluster for this corner. I chain 2 and another cluster into the same corner space. So it's just 3 double crochets. So that's my corner, and now I move on to the side, yarn over, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, 3 double crochets. And then a corner, yarn over, insert in the middle, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. 3 double crochets. And after the 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, I chain 2, 1 and 2, yarn over, insert in the same space, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Here is the completed corner, and next a cluster for the side. Yarn over, insert in the space, and 3 double crochets into that space. Here we go. I have completed this round, so I've worked all around the square, and I'm going to close the round exactly the same way I did the previous rounds. So slip stitch here into that first stitch kind of on the outside, pull the yarn through and pull it through the loop on my hook. Move on to the next stitch there on the outside, pull the yarn through and pull it through the loop on my hook. And then insert into the space, bring the yarn through and bring it through the loop on my hook. And now, of course, this could already be completed, a mini granny square, but I want to add 2 more rounds to my granny square. And I'm going to add 1 more round in this white color, and then I'm going to crochet the blue border around the square. So I'm gonna keep going one more round with this color. So to start my round, I'll chain 2. And then I create 2 more double crochets. This chain 2 counts as a double crochet for me. So 2 more double crochets. One of the first things you learn when you start to crochet and start watching different tutorials and read books, all those things, one of the first things that you're going to learn is that there are certain things that everybody seems to do differently. At least that was my experience when I started to crochet. There's my cluster. I chain 2 and then another cluster. So yeah, that was my experience when I started to crochet. You learn that there are certain things everybody does differently. So as you know, I chain to start my round, I chain 2, and the chain 2 counts as a double crochet. Well, some people like to chain 3 there instead. Some people chain 3 stitches in the corners. Some people chain a stitch between the clusters on the sides. So the way that I'm showing it on this tutorial is the way that I prefer to do it, at least right now. Maybe I change my mind in the future. But just be aware that, you know, you're going to see different things, different ways of doing things. And I think you just kind of have to find your way that you prefer as you keep learning and learning. Okay, so here's my first corner. 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and now the way granny squares work is that with every round we keep adding more clusters on the sides. So remember how on the previous side we made 1 cluster in the middle of the side? Well, now we have 2 clusters here in the middle of the side. So we always work between the previous round's clusters. So I'm gonna go yarn over, insert into that space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert in the space, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 double crochets into this space. There it is. And then I'm still here on the side. I need another granny stitch here into this space. So 3 double crochets. Yarn over and go straight into that space. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. 3 double crochets into that space. And here is the side. And now next I work that corner. So 3 double crochets here for this corner. Then I chain 2 for the corner, 1 and 2, yarn over, and 3 more double crochets into this same corner space. Here we go. There's the corner, and now I'm on the side. And I just work 3 double crochets into each one of these spaces between the previous round's granny stitches. Here's one, and then another cluster in the next space. Here we go. And then I will just keep working around the square exactly the same way. So in the corners, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, all in the same corner space. And then in the sides, we need 2 clusters of 3 double crochets into those spaces. I'm gonna pause the video here. All right, now I have completed that round. I worked all around the square. And for this last round, I'm going to switch to a different color. So I'm going to show you here how to switch color here at the end of the round. So I'm going to close the round exactly the same way I closed the previous rounds. So I slip stitch into that first stitch there. So pull the yarn through, pull it through the loop on my hook. Then I chain 1 stitch. And then I can cut my yarn. Again, leaving a few inches there. And now I just pull the loop, pull the, what is this? The hook. Pull the hook, and then pull that yarn end tight. Here we go. And I'm going to show you now my personal preference, how I like to start weaving in my ends here as I go. So this is my previous yarn end here. I turn my work around here and I'm going to insert my hook in the stitch next to this yarn end, but not through both of those loops, just through one of them, the back loop that's on the back side of the work. So I insert kind of in the middle of that stitch. And I grab that yarn and I pull it through. I go into the next stitch here. So the stitch on the outside, kind of in the middle of that stitch. And I pull the yarn through. In the next one, through that back loop and pull the yarn through. Now this is a method I like to use. I haven't seen anyone else really do it the same way, but it allows me to weave in those yarn ends into 2 different directions as I go, which means that I'll have less ends to weave in at the end. You can skip this part if you already have a different way of weaving in your ends, or you just want to weave them in at the end. That works too, but this is how I like to do it. So just keep pulling that yarn through those loops. And then I usually stop when I'm right here, kind of a little bit past one of these gaps between the clusters of the previous round. And then I'll bring in my new color. I like to attach my yarn with a slip knot. So the same way I started the granny square. So I wrap the yarn around my finger. I take that loop off and I pull another loop with this tail end here. Make a slip knot. Then I put it on my hook and I pull it tight. Again, not too tight. And now I'm going to attach my yarn into one of these corners. And to keep weaving in this end, I'm going to attach my yarn into this corner here, kind of right before where I have this yarn end. So I insert my hook in that space. I have this loop on my hook here. Just not all the way, okay? The loop is here, and this is where the space is. And I just grab this yarn, and I bring it through that space, and then I bring it through the loop on my hook. And now I move it so that it's right at the start of this corner space, because that's where I start my round. And at this point, I also like to turn my work. And now I pull this very tight by kind of holding that knot there. And then I pull this yarn end. To pull it tight so that it doesn't escape because it's too loose. Pull a little bit more. Okay. There it is. I have attached my new yarn. And now I will start my next round exactly the same way I started my other rounds, other previous rounds. So I chain 2, which is going to count as my first double crochet. 2 more double crochets. Into the same corner space. Okay, I chain 3. Then what am I talking about? I created 3 double crochets there and I chain 2. And then I need 3 more double crochets into the same space. So this is exactly the same we've been doing with our previous rounds. Here we go. There's my first corner. And now remember how I have this yarn end here, this white one that I started weaving in. Now I grab this yarn end and I hold it together with my work when I make the 3 double crochets into that space. So it gets woven into this direction as well, because I started here, I weaved it in this way in the back of my work, and now that yarn end kind of gets woven into the opposite direction as well. So I go yarn over, insert in the space, and 3 double crochets into this same space. Here we go. And now at this point I like to stop. I pull this loop a little bit bigger so I don't lose it. But I turn my work around again and I take care of this yarn end. So I do the exact same thing I did with the previous one. So I insert into that next stitch and just pull it through. And I keep pulling it through these back loops here. Again, you can skip this part if you want to weave in your ends in a different way. All right. And then again, I usually stop where I'm past one of these spaces, and this yarn end is shorter than the distance that I have back to the beginning, which I'm not quite there. So I'm gonna keep going just a little bit longer. Pull it a little bit so that this yarn end is not pulling the work too tight and it's not bunching up. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it there. And now I leave this, and now basically when I'm coming back, I'm working around my square, I come back, I start holding this yarn end together with my work this way as well, and it disappears inside the work. All right, and then I keep working here, and now I need to put my hook back on, or this loop back on my hook. So basically I just make sure that when I pull this yarn, it's sort of flowing here from over the hook. So this is flowing, this is moving this way. I pull this and this top moves. And that's how I know I inserted my hook the right way. So I grab this yarn end and I'm just gonna keep holding it together with my work as I go. And I work 3 double crochet stitches into each one of these spaces. There it is. Now I have one more cluster here for the side than I did in my previous round, because my square keeps growing with every round. Yarn split there. Okay. And now I'm in the next corner, and here, same thing as the previous rounds, 3 double crochets. So 3 double crochets. I chain 2 for the corner, and then 3 double crochets into that same corner space. Here we go. So far I have worked this side with those 2 corners, and now it says keep going all around the square exactly the same way as the 2 previous rounds. So we'll work 3 double crochets into each one of these spaces on the sides, and in the corners we do 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 double crochets. So feel free to go ahead, work around your square. And now if you're weaving in your ends as you go this way that I'm showing, meet me back here where you have this previous or this other new color yarn end, and I'll show you how to get it to the other direction as well. But go ahead, work all around and meet me back here. All right, I am at the spot where I have this yarn end. Now this yarn end is actually a little too short, so ideally I would have left a little bit more here, but it's okay. I think it'll be secure enough for this project. So I hold it together with my work here, and then when I work the cluster of double crochets into that space, the yarn disappears inside that space. So 3 double crochets in here. Here we go. I still have a little bit left here. With the previous one, I was holding this yarn together with my work as I went. I'm gonna do this a little more securely, especially because it's so short. So I'm just gonna leave it now there behind my work, and I work the rest of this round. I'm gonna show you in just a minute how to take care of the rest of that yarn end using your yarn needle. So I'm working 3 double crochets here into these spaces, and one more. 3 double crochets. All right, and now I'm ready to close this round. So again, a slip stitch into that first stitch there on the outside, like so, and then I chain 1 and I'll cut my yarn, again leaving a few inches there, and then I pull the hook through and just pull that tight. All right, there is my granny square. Next I'm going to show you how to take care of these yarn ends that we have here. So we have the initial, this one I was holding together with my work as I went into one direction. These two are the ones where I switched color in the middle of that stitch. And then we have this one that we were already weaving in, and this one that I just cut off. So now there are also a lot of personal preferences on how to weave in your ends. Generally, I usually weave in my ends into 2 different directions, and I feel that that's secure enough for me. Except with these where I have these 2 yarn ends in the middle of the work. With that knot, I like to weave these into 3 different directions. So I'm going to show you here how to do each one of these. Let's start with this one. So the last one that I just cut off. I'll put this yarn end through my yarn needle. Okay, and now I start weaving it in here. So I basically work my way here to this round by pulling that yarn through those loops on the back side, okay, so that it doesn't show on the front side of the work. And now here I start going through these loops. Oops, a little hard to get through there. So I'll just weave it in here. I keep pulling my work here because I don't want these yarn ends that I'm weaving in to bunch up the work too much. So I keep pulling it to make sure that it's not too tight. Here. And then here, I like to just grab one of those loops and another one and just go back inside those. Inside those stitches. Okay, pull my work there. And then I turn around to weave it into the opposite direction as well. So I basically find a stitch here where I kind of anchor the yarn. Now currently it's not in the needle because it's a little too short for that. But I can just weave in this needle first and then get the yarn in. Okay. Keep weaving it in here. A little bit more, I think. so. And now, before pulling the needle through, I'll get the yarn back in, and then I pull it through. And there it is, that yarn end disappeared. Okay, then I have this one that I was already weaving in into one direction and a little bit to the opposite. I just go and basically do the same thing I did with that other end, and I just weaved in. Okay, that yarn end disappeared there too. Then I have this one, that's the first yarn end. And now I was holding this, if you remember, I was holding it together with my work when I was working the very first round around the ring. So it's already got woven in into one direction. So now I'm just gonna go into the opposite direction. And here I see the yarn is coming from there. So I just basically find a spot here to kind of anchor that yarn here. So find a spot that doesn't show on the right side. You can always turn your work around and make sure your needle doesn't show on the other side. So I basically anchor that yarn there. And then I keep going back the same way this yarn came. And I weave it in into this direction as well. So keep weaving it in. I like to go around the center here for this yarn end. Kind of very nicely disappears in there. Usually I just keep going. I've already done a full circle this way. But usually I just keep going as far as I can with this yarn end. Now if you have a very long yarn end, obviously here, you don't have to weave it all in. You can also cut the end of it. Just a little bit more. All right, there it is. That disappeared as well. It's just a little bit left that I can cut off at the end. And now I have these two where I changed color. And now I want to be extra secure with these so that they don't start, unraveling in the middle of my granny square. So I usually like to weave this into 3 different directions. And now here is the knot where they are tied together. Make sure that that's tight. And then I usually like to find a stitch here very close to that knot. Just make sure that you're not inserting the needle. You're inserting it like around the yarn and not through the yarn. I usually find a spot where I go around a loop like that, so that it's very snug there around that knot. And then I start weaving this in just like I did with the other yarn ends. I start weaving it in into this direction. And then I turn around. So I came from there and I'm currently here, and I find a spot again to kind of anchor this yarn here. And then I go back where I came from. Go back. Okay, so now I've already gone into two different directions. So I started here, I went this way, I came back. Now I'm going to anchor again on this side, find a good spot, and I'm gonna go back into this direction. So now it's getting woven in into three different directions. Keep going. And then here on the side, I usually go around one of these loops, at least one or two, and keep going. I pull my work a little bit too here so that it's not getting too tight. And I keep going. Pull my work again. Just a little bit more to go. All right, I had already cut this one, but I'm just gonna weave it in here. Okay, that takes care of that one. Let's see, it disappeared completely there. And then I have one more. So, put my needle. And kind of the same thing here. Usually here I like to go through this stitch here. Kind of to pull the yarn here. Again, it's kind of snug going into this direction. And I go through these stitches. And then again, I anchor it here. Go back the same way. Go anchor it on the other side. And then go back. Again, there are many different ways of weaving in your ends. So this is also kind of one of those things that you have to try and see which one you prefer. And you might change it in the future too. I definitely have. Okay, let's keep weaving this end in. lost my yarn there. It's okay. I can weave in the needle first and then get the yarn in there. Again, I'm pulling my work. I don't want to pull it too much so that it doesn't like make very big loops back here, but also I want to pull it enough so that it's not bunching up my granny square. Okay, I've already woven this in the 3 different directions because I started here, I went this way, I turned back, and then I turned back this way again. But I'm just gonna turn around here again, so this one's gonna get woven in into 4 different directions actually. Again, I like to be a little more careful with these where I have the knot in the middle of the work. Just don't want them to come loose. All right, here it is. And now I have a few yarn ends here that are just very short, so I can just go and cut these off. Be careful when you're cutting the yarn ends not to cut the granny square. And one more here. All right, my granny square is completed. This is the right side and this is the back side. And now, of course, this granny square could already be, for example, a coaster. Or you could make more and you could join them into a blanket or a bag or a cardigan or really anything. There are endless possibilities with granny squares. I really hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. If you're posting pictures on Instagram of your granny square, I would love to see those. My Instagram account is Wildflower and Stitch. And also, if you like this tutorial, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, leave me a comment, share the video. All those things help me a lot. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.